All right, welcome back. Hope you're having a great week. Today we're continuing our RBT exam practice question series where we're going through the next set of RBT questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. If you're looking for our proven study materials, please check out btexamreview.com. We offer 3 practice exams, our task list study guide, and of course, our famous combo pack. When you pass your exam, please let us know so we can include you in our Sunday shout out. We also have a YouTube membership if you'd like to support us further. Other than that, let's work hard, study hard, and get to our questions. Question 1. The Primo family are huge fans of the Green Bay Packers. Packers sometimes play Sunday or Monday and in different time slots. What type of basic reinforcement schedule is represented by this scenario? First thing you need to do for this question is think about your basic reinforcement schedules, and we have 4. We have fixed ratios, fixed intervals, variable ratios, and variable intervals. When you're breaking down basic reinforcement schedules, you need to ask yourself a couple questions. First, is the reinforcement or the consequence contingent on responses or time? If it's contingent on responses, we're looking at a ratio schedule. If it's contingent on time, we're looking at interval schedules. And then fixed versus variable. Fixed is unchanging. The amount never changes. Variable, we're going to look at an average or an amount that changes. So in this case, the Packers sometimes play Sunday, sometimes play Monday, and then sometimes in different time slots. Is that a fixed schedule or is that changing? Well, it's always changing, so it's variable. Then you ask yourself, well, does it matter how many responses I engage in, or is it just based on time? Well, this is clearly based on time. If the Packers play Sunday at 3:30, it doesn't matter how many times you try to watch that channel or watch that game, you won't receive reinforcement until Sunday at 3:30. So it's based on an amount of time or an interval. So it's a changing amount of time. In other words, a variable interval. If you break down basic reinforcement schedule questions like that, you'll never miss one. They're very straightforward. So just remember you have 4. Ask yourself, responses or time, and is it fixed or is it changing? And then just combine them and go from there. So what type of basic reinforcement schedule is represented by the scenario? Well, a variable interval. You head to the mall on your day off to do some shopping. You spot your client's mom who asks if you would like to grab lunch at the food court. What should you say? This is a dual relationship question. Always be cautious of what kind of relationship you're engaging in with stakeholders. Stakeholders are parents or anybody else who has an investment in the outcome of your client. In this case, you're at your off day. You didn't plan to see your client's mom, but you did. You saw them at the mall. And they said, well, can we grab some lunch at the food court? What's the issue here? Well, the issue is you're not on the clock. You're not providing services. This isn't a non or unprofessional environment. And the key with dual relationships is that professional and personal boundary. Once you cross over from professional to personal, you've now violated that. So if you're in this environment, it is no longer a professional environment. It is now a personal environment. So what should you say? A, accept, but make sure you pay for your own meal. Even if you paid for your own meal, you're still having lunch, which has nothing to do with the client. B, accept, but clear with your supervisor. Your supervisor should not clear this for you. If they do, that is a problem. This is going to constitute a dual relationship. C, decline and ask to come off the case. You don't need to ask to come off the case. The parent might not know. And either way, it's not really their job to follow our ethical code. It's up to us to uphold our ethical code. So D, decline politely and tell your supervisor is the best course of action. Say, no, I can't because of our ethical code. And then simply tell your supervisor what happened. It's very straightforward. It's very easy. It's very ethical. Remember, we're trying to avoid dual relationships whenever possible. Whenever that boundary gets crossed from personal to or professional to personal, we now have a dual relationship. So what should you say? Decline politely and tell your supervisor. A trumpet player cannot keep up with the tempo of the new song the band is learning. The trumpet player is unable to play notes quickly enough. What might you want to reduce to help the trumpet player? All right, one of the more difficult measurement questions, and this type of measurement can be difficult to sometimes identify. So you have to ask yourself, what is occurring in this question? Well, we know this trumpet player cannot keep up with the tempo of the new song. He can't play the notes quickly enough. The question wants to know, what would you reduce? So if they can't play the notes quickly enough, we need them to speed up. We need to increase how quickly they play notes. But the question wants us to reduce something. What are we going to reduce? A, rate. Well, rate is simply frequency over time. If we wanted to help the trumpet player quicker, we would need the rate to increase. We would need more frequency over time. So that can't be our answer. Be very, very careful, right? We're looking for what we would reduce. So what about inter-response time? Inter-response time is time in between responses. If we reduced inter-response time, there would be less time in between notes, meaning notes would be coming quicker. You would want to reduce the inter-response time to help the trumpet player play faster. That's why this question's a little tricky. You would increase rate, but you would reduce inter-response time. Latency is simply the time between the SD and the response, which is not what we're looking to reduce, right? The starting is not the problem. It's playing quickly enough. And then D, frequency, the number of notes, right, is not the problem. It's how quickly they play that many notes. It doesn't matter if they play all those notes, but very slowly. We need them to play that certain amount of notes in a certain amount of time. So we would increase the rate, but decrease the inter-response time. Why is errorless learning commonly used when first teaching new skills? So what is the advantage of errorless learning? And we know with errorless learning, you do not allow the client or the learner to make an error, right? It's very intrusive prompting where errors are not allowed. And the reason we do this is because we want to prevent errors from happening when skills are being learned. One error leads to more errors. Errors lead to errors. So by preventing errors from occurring initially, we can try to prevent more errors in the future. So the question is asking exactly that. Why is it commonly used when teaching a new skill? A, errorless learning is always the most effective way to teach a new skill. Be very careful about very concrete, definitive words like always, right? Errorless learning is not always the most effective way to teach a new skill because all kids are different, right? We need to personalize things. B, errorless learning helps to prevent errors from becoming part of the behavior chain. So if we think about learning a skill, we teach different steps. If an error becomes part of those steps, then it becomes part of the chain. So this is a great way to prevent errors from being incorporated into that behavior chain. So B is one of the reasons we use errorless learning. C, errorless learning guarantees that errors won't be made when errorless learning is faded. Again, can we guarantee that errors won't be made once we stop using errorless learning? No, we can't guarantee that by any means, right? We can hope, okay, and we can try to plan for that, but there's no guarantee errors won't be made. And then D, errorless learning is great for generalization. It is not, right? Because you're not preventing them from naturally doing the skill. The whole reason we do errorless learning is to teach a skill. So why is errorless learning commonly used when first teaching new skills? B, errorless learning helps to prevent errors from becoming part of the behavior chain. A butcher's apprentice is learning how to butcher a chicken. The butcher tells the apprentice what to do and then demonstrates. This is most likely what type of prompt? All right, you got to analyze this and think a little bit. There's not a lot of information here, but definitely enough to figure it out. The prompting question. So what kind of prompt are we looking at here? So we're looking at a butcher's apprentice learning to butcher a chicken. The SD is the butcher tells the apprentice what to do. Immediately after, the butcher demonstrates. So if you give an SD and then demonstrate the skill, what type of prompt is that? A, physical prompt. Is the butcher hand over handing or gradually guiding the apprentice? He is not. Is it a gestural prompt? Is the butcher pointing or making motions towards what they want? They are not. They are demonstrating. So it's a modeling prompt. When you demonstrate and you actually show how to do the skill and not just gesture at it, you're modeling for them. So the butcher says, do this, and then demonstrates or models it. It is C, a modeling prompt. What type of prompt? C, modeling prompt. All the children on Thanksgiving Day want to eat their grandma's famous pumpkin pie. The children's mom tells them they need to eat their turkey and then they can have their pie. The mom used what? All right, the mom used some sort of intervention. And let's break it down. The children want to eat their grandma's pumpkin pie. That's what they want, okay? That's the quote-unquote motivation. That's the valuable consequence. The children's mom says, you need to eat your turkey and then you can have your pie. The mom has established a contingency. If you eat your turkey, then you can have your pie. What is this called specifically? Is this a high probability request sequence? Well, it's not, because a high probability request sequence involves a lot of easy known requests first, and then the more difficult unpreferred request. In this case, it's flipped, right? The unpreferred request, eat your turkey, comes first, and then you have your pie. So the mom is actually using B, the Primo principle, also known as grandma's law. If you do this first, then you get the opportunity to engage in the activity you want. Eat your turkey, have your pie. She's not shaping, there's no approximations, and no prompting, right? She's not prompting anything. She's establishing a contingency where she's using the preferred activity as the reinforcement for engaging in the less preferred activity. The mom used the Primo principle to get the kids to eat their turkey, and then they could eat their pie. Which of the following examples represents a socially mediated consequence? Remember, we have two types of consequences: socially mediated and automatic. Socially mediated involves a second person, right? There's another person involved. Automatic is one person, alone, solo, nobody else involved with the consequence. In this case, we're looking for examples that represent socially mediated consequences. So we're looking for examples that involve more than one person. So A, I drive to the toll booth, stop, hand the attendant money, and the gate opens. Well, this of course is socially mediated. Without the attendant, the gate would never open. I have to pay. The attendant has to open the gate. B, the plumber arrives at my house. I describe my problem, and he fixes it. Again, plumber, me, I describe my problem. Plumber fixes the problem. This is socially mediated. C, I puree some peas, put them on a spoon. My daughter eats the puree. I puree, daughter eats. Once again, socially mediated. So all three of these are socially mediated consequences. So your answer is D, all the above. Again, if you would have made the mistake some people make, you would have read A and said, well, that's socially mediated. I'm going to pick this one and move on. What is our rule? Our rule is we read every single answer choice every single time. Not only for all the above questions, but it's going to make you a better test taker and is going to increase your speed and fluency. I promise you. Rushing through them is not going to help your fluency. It's not going to help your score. You need to read every single answer choice to be sure you're picking the best possible answer. And then why is functional communication training a useful strategy in applied behavior analysis? What is functional communication training? It's teaching people to meet their wants and needs through communication. And it's a very valuable piece of ABA. Why is that? A, it can serve as a functional replacement for other behaviors. Absolutely, right? A lot of times behaviors are due to lack of communication. Through functional communication training, we can teach functional replacements. B, it gives clients independence. Absolutely. Clients who can speak and communicate have a lot more independence than clients who cannot. C, it allows clients to meet their needs in a socially valid way. Again, yes. Instead of engaging in problematic, maladaptive behaviors, they can communicate and meet their needs in a way that is socially valid and meaningful. So again, D, all the above. And it just happened to have, we have all of the above questions back to back. Read every answer choice. Again, not just because you can get all the above and none of the above, but especially when you're practicing, it's going to make you a better test taker if you can determine what answers are right and what answers are wrong. So, why is functional communication training useful? D, all the above. Fantastic. Thank you for watching. Please join our YouTube membership. Like, subscribe, check out btexamreview.com. As always, questions, comments, let us know. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.